One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet whom millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Today, Donald Trump meeting with the president of South Africa and attempting to ambush and humiliate that leader inside the Oval Office. But what he did instead was embarrass and humiliate the people of the United States of America again. In his meeting with President Ramaphosa, Trump peddled unsubstantiated claims of genocide in South Africa of white South Africans, a group that ruled during apartheid in South Africa. It is a fringe conspiracy theory pushed by the likes of Elon Musk, Tucker Carlson, and David Duke, the former Grand Wizard of the KKK. Well, there you have it. A conspiracy theory peddling leader of the United States of America sitting inside a gilded Oval Office, again, tarnishing America's image around the world.
Tarnishing the image of America around the world. But no worse than what you people do, because everything she just said there was a bold-faced, unadulterated propaganda gaslighting technique to lie to the idiots who watch that. I got a whole segment about this once we do the jump over, because there's no way I can talk about it here. But let's hear from, I don't know, the president of South Africa himself. Take it away.
The question of land. The land of our forefathers and our foremothers must return to our people without any fail and without any payment of compensation. And it must happen now.
So we're going to take your land without any compensation, no payment, and we got to do it now. But it's a conspiracy theory, huh? You know how long it took me to find that clip? Literally about 5 minutes. You just put his name in and you look for the clip. Put his name in and taking land. Put his name in and taking land from the white people. Oh, it comes right up. We're taking your stuff. But I thought MSNBC just said it's a conspiracy theory. It's not happening. It's not, it's just made up. He embarrassed America again. No, you're an embarrassment. You are a full-on embarrassment. And I can't wait to rip into this media as we go through it. That's going to take place after the jump. I got a whole bunch of stuff to go through with you. The first thing I want to show you is, because we have to lead off with the president. The president had the Florida Gators. Yeah, the Gators. He had the Florida Gators at the White House today to commemorate their winning of the national championship. So, without further ado, let's listen to what President Trump had to say to these champion young men. You know how he loves kids. He loves teams. He loves sports. And this one doesn't disappoint either.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, accompanied by head coach Todd Golden.
Crowd. That's really, really nice. I just met you, Coach. Now I see why you won. But they had some good hair, tall. Wow. Good, tall guys, good-looking guys, huh? Congratulations. Fantastic job. That's not easy, right, Coach? But today we're delighted to welcome the 2025 NCAA basketball champions, the University of Florida Gators. Hello, Tim. Congratulations also to a really great young head coach, Todd Golden, on the entire job he did, the season, the inspiration that he gave these players. He's unbelievable as a coach. I heard a lot of great things about him. Oh, would I like to be his agent? Don't go anywhere, Coach. Stay, Coach. You can't leave. And joining us this afternoon is University of Florida's interim president, Kent Fox. Kent? Good. Congratulations. Attorney General Pam Bondi, who's doing a phenomenal job. Phenomenal. Keeping us safe. And, of course, there's no bigger Florida fan than Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Is Marco? Pam, why don't you and Marco come up? Come up. Senator, come on up. Get up here. Come on up here, Senator. And I see Marco's son, Anthony, is a running back for the Gators football team. Whoa. That's not bad. That's pretty good. We're also joined by Senators Rick Scott, Ashley Moody. Rick Scott, where's Rick? Rick, come on up, Rick. Ashley's up. Representatives Aaron Bean, Gus Bilirakis, Vern Buchanan, Kate Kamek, and if you want, come on up. This stage is meant for a lot of people, actually. Byron Donalds, Randy Fine. Randy, come on up, Randy. Congratulations on your election. I was worried about you, Randy. I was worried. He ended up winning by 16 points, right? I wasn't too worried. Scott Franklin. Scott, thank you very much. Carlos Jimenez. Where's Carlos? Come on up, Carlos. Good guy. Mike Herodopoulos. Laura Lee. Laura Lee. Look at this. Hi, Greg. They don't have your name down. Greg, get up here, Greg. Greg Stubbe. Anna Paulina. Luna. Anna. Come on, Anna. Jimmy Petronis. Jimmy, congratulations. That was a big election. We got them all. We have Greg up here. Thanks as well to the wonderful members of the Florida State Legislature, and a very special thanks to the NFL legend and University of Florida. I mean, one of the greatest players I've ever seen. I'll tell you what, as a college player, maybe the best ever, and you did damn well. And you did damn well in the pros, too. He was great. Despite being on the Jets, you did damn well. Come on up here, Tim. You got to come up here. Tim Tebow. And he's a terrific guy. He is a terrific guy. He's a winner. Boy, he was a winner. Well, you win 2, right? And you almost won a 3rd. There's nobody did much better. Nobody did that. I think he goes down really as one of the best, maybe the best college football player, if you think about it, we can only base that on results, right, Tim? Which is all that counts. A great guy, too. The 2025 University of Florida basketball team was one for the history books, and I saw a few of those games, and they were tough games against great teams. You brought home the 3rd national title in program history and made Florida the only Division I program ever to win 3 national titles in both basketball and football. That's not bad. The team was hot from the very beginning, starting off the year with a 13-game winning streak and roaring to a 27-4 record in the regular season against really, really good competition, including 2 wins over number 1 ranked opponents. In one of the pivotal moments early in the season, the Gators found themselves in a fierce battle with South Carolina, a great team, trailing the Gamecocks 52-38, Coach. That's pretty good, Coach. They're not too happy about it, are they? That's one of those, you're happy, but they're not happy when that happens. With 12 minutes left in the clock, fighting against time, the Gators clawed your way back into striking distance. With just 5 seconds left in the clock, senior guard Will Richards seized this moment. And drove in hard to sink a game-winning layup, earning Florida a 70-69 come-from-behind victory. Well done. Where's Will? I want to see this guy. That's great, Will. Boy, oh boy, these are good-looking guys. And they're definitely tall. One of my guys said downstairs, he's a big guy, he said, these are the tallest human beings I've ever seen. I have a son who's 6'9", but 6'9's not, I now see, he always says, Dad, I'm not that tall compared to some of these guys. And now I understand what he's talking about. By the SEC tournament, Florida truly caught fire. The Gators even set a new tournament scoring record when you beat Alabama 104-82 in the closing minutes of the SEC championship game against Tennessee. The Volunteers cut the Gators' 13-point lead down to 5. Ooh, that's called sometimes choke time, Coach. That's never good when you take that big lead and you're thinking about your victory speech. You forget to play basketball, right? You forget you got to play golf or basketball or whatever, and then all of a sudden you say, oh, man, we could lose this sucker, huh? That's never good, but you handle it. The pressure was on. You handle it. That's when star senior guard Walter Clayton Jr. I tell you, I hear he's really good. See, he's really rich, too, you know that. Seize control of the game.
Not yet. Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. Right, not yet. Is he coming back, Coach?
No, he'll be playing the NBA next year.
Well, then he's rich. No, I hear he's unbelievable. Special. It's going to be a very early draft choice, sir, I think. If they're smart. If they're smart. Seized control of the game and scored 8 straight points, leading the Gators to your first SEC championship in 11 years and earning himself a title in tournament MVP. That's great. A lot of MVPs up there. Up next was the big dance. Florida opened March Madness with a commanding win over Norfolk State and followed it up by edging out 2-time defending champ UConn. That's tough. In a thrilling 77-75 win. Some of these games are close, Coach. You know what they say about those close? That means they have a good coach.
I don't know about that.
You won a lot of close games here. The Elite Eight brought to a face-off with Texas Tech down by 9. With under 4 minutes left, Florida responded with a furious rally led by sophomore Thomas Hawk, who made back-to-back three-pointers. Back-to-back. He's got good hair, too. Nice hair. He's got no hair loss problem, I can tell you. Thomas was still on full display as he earned his fourth double-double of the season by recording 20 points and 11 rebounds while against the Red Raiders, and with an 84-79 victory over Texas Tech. You punched your ticket to the Final Four. Not easy to do. Thank you. Not easy to do, fellas. Facing off against top-seeded Auburn, Walter Clayton again. Walter Clayton. This guy, Walter Clayton, has to be very... Walter Clayton Jr. turned in another big performance, dropping a career-high 34 points and became the first player since Larry Bird. How good was Larry Bird? In 1979 to score 30 points or more in both the Elite Eight and the Final Four. That's some competition. They like Larry Bird. I do too. So in the championship game against the Houston Cougars, what became one of the most hard-fought title games in college basketball history, the first half was a battle over every point, with both teams playing ferocious defense and the lowest scoring first half of a championship game since 2011. The Gators fell behind, and it was looking bad. But in the second half, Florida stormed back with a 14-3 run. That's not bad. With less than 60 seconds left on the clock, Houston led by 1 point. Did you think you were going to win?
I did.
That's what he gets paid for. This guy's good. Houston then fouled Elijah Martin. Okay, where's Elijah? Giving him 2 free throws, which he easily sank. Were you nervous? I always think, here's a guy. He's got to sink. It's not that easy. I can name a couple of very big players that didn't do too well in that circumstance. Were you nervous when you were up? No. That's pretty good. He sank them both, Coach, right? Oh, if you didn't sink him, you wouldn't be up here right now. And nobody would ever call you again. That's great. That's a lot of pressure. That's a tremendous thing. With Houston fouled junior guard Denzel Aberdeen, who expanded Florida's lead again, and that's great. Where's Denzel? I love that name, Denzel Aberdeen. I have a place in Aberdeen, Scotland. I like that name, Aberdeen. And he's a good player, Coach. Very good. I'd like to have him say, no, not that good. You look like a good player. On Houston's final possession, the Gators clamped down, pressured the ball. That's right, I saw that game. That was a crazy game. And forced a turnover. The ball rolled loose, and the Gators clinched the national championship 65-63 in one of the most exciting games and championships they've ever had. That's great coaching. Lesser teams would have crumbled. That was a hell of a game. Tim, what do you think? Pretty good, right?
The best.
That was pretty good. And under that pressure, very few teams could have withstood that. That was an amazing moment, actually. And those 2 free throws by Denzel were pretty amazing. But time after time, you refuse to let up. I mean, think of it, all these close games and against great teams, and a lot of those guys are going into the NBA. And you won, Coach. You just kept winning. You refused to let up when the odds were against you, and that's the mark of true champions, all of you. The coach is great, and the team is great, and the coach feels really, I asked him first question, how do you think you'll do this year? You know, in other words, forget about last year. How you doing this year, right? We always think forward, Coach, but he said he thinks he's going to have a fantastic team. Will you go and ranked top 5 or so, or 1, or maybe?
I think we'll be top 5.
5? Good, Coach. That's good. Well, if you're top 5, that means with you as a coach, you're going to win, right?
Well,
so I think so. So, again, congratulations to a well-earned victory, and all I can say is go Gators. We love you in Florida. I tell you, we love you in Florida. And now, Coach Golden. Coach. Thank you, Coach.
my passport. First of all, thank you, Mr. President, for inviting my team and our program to the White House to celebrate our national championship. It means everything to us, so thank you very much.
And we're going to take you to the Oval Office.
We're going to go to the Oval Office after this.
The Oval Office after this, right?
Yeah, and then we just want to thank all of our friends and family and supporters of our program that are here today, enjoying this moment and celebrating with us. If it wasn't for your all support all year, we wouldn't be here, so thank you all very much. Mr. President, I like to think of our program similarly to how you think of the United States. We're a meritocracy. All right, we work really, really hard no matter what you look like or where you come from. If you put the team first and win, we're going to play you. And we have a program full of that, guys that have great attitudes, great work ethics, most importantly, want to be at the University of Florida. All right, we have young men that have great physical tools, great basketball talent. In fact, as Mr. President said, a number of these guys will be participating in the NBA next year or when their time at Florida is up. But the reason why we were successful this year is we had incredible team talent. We had guys that were willing to play together, sacrifice individual stats and records for the greater good of the group, and it led us to a 36-4 record and a trip to the White House. I'm incredibly proud of my players and our staff and the work that we've done over the last year. And our goal is to do everything we can to put ourselves in position to be here again next year. But we got a lot of work to do in the meantime. But again, Mr. President, thank you so much. And to show a token of our appreciation, we have an autographed team basketball and a Donald Trump jersey with number 47 on it. All right. To honor your 47th term as President of the United States of America.
Thank you very much. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Go Gators.
I'm not sure they'll want to. I think the most exciting room anywhere in the world is called the Oval Office. And I'm going to invite the coach and the team down to the Oval Office. I might even ask our great representatives, senators, Marco, everybody to come down with them. And we'll take some pictures in the Oval Office. And I have a special little coin for them, a really nice coin. I hope they never lose it, because if they do, it's a lot of money, that coin. But, so let's see. Do you want to go to the Oval Office? Yes, sir. I thought they were going to say that. Thank you all very much. Great team, great everything. Thank you. Fantastic. Thank you very much.
I love that. You can actually see the genuine joy he has on his face for, when he's talking to these kids. It's amazing. Absolutely. I love it. So he's had the Philadelphia Eagles there. He's had the Florida Gators. I can't remember. There was somebody else. But we'll see if the Florida Panthers get there. Hopefully, if they can pull it off in Stanley Cup, that'd be awesome. I don't know if the Dolphins are going to get there. No, I don't think so. I think we're going to be really short in order to get the Dolphins up there. All right, so I'm about to get into the show, but before I get there, let me go ahead and talk to you about one of our sponsors here. And as we talk about real estate next week, this is something you're going to want to look into. We'll talk about this as well. In fact, Real Estate Night is going to be presented by Home Title Lock. So if you're a homeowner, you need to listen to this. When's the last time you checked on your home title? The title is the legal proof that you own your house. Ask Letitia James about that. If you're like most people, the answer, you never check your title. The problem is, in today's AI and cyber world, scammers are stealing home titles and your equity is the target. Here's how it works. Criminals forge your signature on a one-page document, usually called a quitclaim. Then they use a fake or fraudulent notary stamp. Then they pay their stamps at the county recorder, and boom, just like that, your home title has been transferred out of your name. It happens quite a bit. Don't think it can't happen to you. Then, after they own the house, because yes, they will then own your house, they will take out more loans using your equity as collateral and possibly even sell your property. You won't even know it's happened until you get a collection notice or a foreclosure notice in the mail. That's why you need to stop what you're doing and find out today if you're already a victim of title fraud. Use promo code Barry at HomeTitleLock.com or go to HomeTitleLock.com/Barry Cunningham to make sure your title is still in your name. You also get a free title history report plus a free 14-day trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title, urgent alerts to any changes, and if fraud should happen, they'll spend up to $1 million to fix it. Some people have asked me, why do you have to spend any money to fix it? Because the county recorder, city recorder, depending on where you live, they're under no obligation to fix it. You're going to have to hire an attorney and then do what's called a quiet title, and it takes a lot of money. So go to HomeTitleLock.com now. Use promo code Barry, that's HomeTitleLock.com, or HomeTitleLock.com/Barry Cunningham, and use promo code Barry. And it really does happen. I'm going to talk to you about it next week when we go over everything on real estate. All right, so that being said, let's get into tonight's show that I've got planned for you. I'm just going to jump right in. All right, here we go.
Oh, give me a break. Did you see her? She was out of control. Did you? Those days are over. The days of woke. No, I didn't. The days of woke are over. That woman, I have no idea who she is. That woman was out of control. She was shoving federal agents. She was out of control. The days of that crap are over in this country. We're going to have law and order.
A developing story. The Justice Department filed charges Monday against a Democratic member of Congress, Congresswoman Mclver of New Jersey. DOJ is accusing her now of assaulting and interfering with law enforcement during a confrontation with Homeland Security officers outside an ICE detention center in Newark earlier this month. You're seeing video that we've played before of the moments of the chaos that ensued. The situation first grabbed attention when the mayor of Newark, New Jersey, was arrested on grounds of federal trespassing. That charge has since been dropped. The mayor was on CNN with Abby Phillip last night and spoke about all of this. Listen to this.
I didn't see any of the things that were stated. I didn't see any of those things happen. So I think that the Congresswoman will be vindicated. And the videos are clear. Everybody can see those videos. They'll see the whole thing, and it'll be clear to me, and it'll be clear to her in court.
Well, he did say one truth there. Everybody can see the video. There's no denying what we actually saw. She bum rushed her way. She used her body like a bumper car. She was actually pushing and shoving federal agents. And of course, I didn't do nothing. I didn't do nothing. Which is the constant refrain from some of these people. It's amazing how it's on tape. If she looks at the tape herself, and CNN puts her on the air, and they know she's going to lie. They know that the Democrats are going to lie because they have to say that because it's in the court system right now. What do you think she's going to come out and say? Yeah, I did it? Of course she's going to lie. She has to lie. So CNN knows she has to lie. They don't care. They don't care at all.
Up in defense of the Congresswoman, joining me right now is the Congresswoman at the center of this, Congresswoman Mclver. Thank you, Congresswoman, for being here. The charge is specifically for assaulting, impeding, or interfering with law enforcement. What is your reaction to this charge?
First of all, thank you so much, Kate, for having me or allowing me to come on for a few seconds today. I think the charges are absurd. You know, it's ridiculous. I was there to do my job along with my other colleagues. We have done this before. This is our obligation to do. It's in our job description to have oversight over a facility, and the entire situation was escalated by ICE. They caused the confrontation. Homeland came and, caused this chaos that we see. It was a very tense situation, but it could have been, easily not happened. They had every opportunity to not allow this to happen. It was very unnecessary.
They had every opportunity to make sure this didn't happen. It was everybody else's fault. It's the ongoing lack of personal accountability that we see with most of the Democrats. It's somebody else's fault. They made it happen. I didn't do anything. I didn't do nothing. And they're clutching their pearls, and she's crying on the altar of CNN when there's a video, and she's saying it's their fault for escalating. They told you you couldn't come in. These people are employed by ICE to make sure somebody, whoever gave the order, said you can't come in. So how is it their fault that you ran up there and ran your body up into them? At that point, if you felt like you indeed had the right to get in there, you could have just said, all right, what's your badge number? I'll be back. Done. See, it really was that simple. But they don't want you to even think that way. They want you to think that she was wronged. But it's all on video.
And it just, once again, we were there to do our jobs. And, if I'm going to be charged with a crime for doing my job, it just speaks to, where we're headed in this country.
No, you were not charged for doing your job. I cannot stand these people on CNN who let these idiots go on television and spew crap. You weren't charged for doing your job. Not unless your job is to act like a bumper car and throw your weight around on somebody. Is that your job? Is your job to interfere and attack and assault other people? If that's your job, then you were doing it correctly. If your job is a congresswoman to perform, as you say, oversight, well, you know what? Your oversight should have been, they're not letting me in. I'm going to have to file a report here. There is nothing in your oversight manual. Nothing. You can turn every single page, and you can look on page 10, paragraph A. Okay, you get to have oversight. You get to do this. Oh, look what's not in here. It doesn't say, as a part of your oversight duties, you can go ahead and throw your girth onto somebody else. Nope, not there. That's called assault. That's simple assault. It's right on video. That's not in your job description. There's not a single person in your district who voted for you, God forbid, that said, hey, listen, if you can't get into ICE detention centers and try to let loose rapists and murderers, then you should just throw your body around. Show me the people who voted for that. They don't exist.
And what we're dealing with as leaders and as Congress members, here in this country.
Congresswoman, just specifically on the issue at hand with now that you're facing this charge, what is the plan today? Are you turning yourself in or showing up in court? what is your understanding of what happens now?
So we are still trying to get more information on what the next steps are. My attorneys are in contact with the federal courts in New Jersey and Newark, New Jersey. So we're just waiting on direction. For now, it's business as usual. I'm going to do my job. This week, we all know that Republicans are trying to take away Medicaid and important funding to services that impact those.
Here they come again. Lying, lying, lying. When all else fails, say the Republicans are taking away Medicaid. In fact, if you were a good talking head on CNN and why your numbers are so down, you would ask this person, who are they trying to take Medicaid away from? Congresswoman, you just made a statement. Can you tell me who it is that they're trying to take Medicaid from? No, they don't ask. They completely just look at the cue card and figure out this is where we need to go with things.
Over 800,000 people that I represent in New Jersey and across this nation. And so I'm going to do my job, Kate. That's why I was elected, why the people from New Jersey sent me here. So it's a full day of work for me here on the Capitol. On Capitol Hill, excuse me.
No, of course. We were just covering it as President Trump is heading into a big meeting with Republicans on this exact issue. CNN has some reporting from sources that you and the Justice Department had attempted to negotiate a plea deal of some kind. Acting U.S. Attorney Alina Habba, though, said on Monday that you declined the department's attempts to, quote, come to a resolution. Can you speak to that? Are you open to having a discussion with the Justice Department to resolve this outside of the courtroom at this point?
Well, the Justice Department and Alina Hopper wanted me to admit to doing something that I did not do, and I was not going to do that. Once again, I came there to do my job and conduct an oversight visit, and they wanted me to say something differently, and I'm not doing that. I'm not going to roll over and stop doing my job because
Oh, you did some rolling over, girl. We saw you rolling, so you can't say that. So this is one of the problems, and this is when I talk to you later about Dan Bongino and Cash Patel and some information I want to show you. Again, at least this time, Alina Habba said, no, you don't want the deal, you don't want to do it, we're going to take you to court. I'm not going to waste any time with you. You're going to have to, put it on the mercy of the court, which she'll probably, let me just brace you for it, she'll probably get off. Because that's what these judges and liberal juries have been doing. She'll probably get off. But, let me finish this and I'll come back to the but.
Don't want me to, or they want to neglect the fact that we needed to be in there to see what was going on in that detention center. And so, absolutely, no, I was not going to do that, and I think I'm open. I've always been open to having conversations. We have to have good government. We have to be able to conduct ourselves and be professionals, in this work. This is what the folks that I represent expect for me to do. And so definitely always open to conversations, but I'm not going to admit to something that I did not do, and no one's going to stop me for serving the people in New Jersey, because that's what they expect for me to do.
Except for one problem. The people of New Jersey aren't who you were advocating for. Again, CNN didn't catch that. Oh, this is what I voted for. These people voted to put me in office to do this. Really? Where in any of your campaign speeches did you say, I am working and I'm going to work very, very hard to make sure that newcomers who aren't supposed to be in the country, who are convicted rapists, murderers, etc., they're set free in your city, in the city that I represent? Show me anywhere in any campaign speech where you said that. Also, she could have asked her, what is it about these people that you want to see released? There's a whole big jail in Newark. There's a giant jail with a whole bunch of brothers up in it. Why aren't you going over there? What do you want to see in this detention center? Who is it, and what did you expect to have happen? You were going to rush in there and look, oh yeah, there's bad guys here. Then what? Nobody's asking these questions. Well, at least someone's tired of it. Finally, one person is. Breaking news, this was at 3:30. Nancy Mace filed a resolution to expel LaMonica Mclver from Congress after she was formally charged with assaulting a law enforcement officer. This is what has to happen. No rewarding this behavior. Remove her. The Republicans currently hold control of the House. She is a House congressional member. If you remember, not too far ago, a couple months, George Santos was expelled from Congress. George Santos was told to go away. They threw him out. But now watch what happens with her. Let's see if the Republicans have enough gumption, or we could use the word cojones, to get rid of this woman. You got every opportunity now. That was completely conduct unbecoming of a congresswoman. You have the ability to say, let's get her out. I don't even think they need Democrats' votes. I think they have enough. Remember, God bless his soul, Congressman Connolly died this morning. So now you have an even larger spread in the House. You're telling me you can't get this woman out of here? You're telling me you guys don't even feel the need to get her out? To actually show people you're going to do something? Remember, you got a whole bunch of Trump supporters who are sitting here watching. You guys going to do anything? We got one arrest, and it's from Alina Habba. And don't tell me you want to have hearings after hearings and investigations. Do something. Make a stand here and get rid of her. It's not that difficult.
See a line crossed here, and what is the way for your party to deal with it? Well, so many lines have been crossed, so many lines have been erased. I don't even know if any lines left. For me, and this is my personal opinion, I think they went after her, and I think her race has something to do with it.
Of course. Of course. As a black guy, I am so tired. I mean, exhausted of people constantly complaining about race. The reason why Alina Habba arrested her is because she's a black woman, a woman of color. How tired is it? How tired are you of hearing the same old stale messaging from the Democrats? It's like they have nothing else. It's obviously not working. You just got stomped in the election. Nobody's buying this racial crap anymore. But what? They go right back to it.
But I'll just flat out say that.
You're of the view, and it's my job. I'll let you finish. It's my job, Jay. But it's my job to ask you to substantiate it. But you're of the view. You're of the view. Well, I'll let you finish. You're of the view that you're asserting that the Trump administration or DOJ is targeting her racially. Why do you assert that?
Because that's what they're about. And they're trying to show it's us against them. They talk about the blood of America and the poisoning of blood. And they talk about this kind of stuff. Again, let me be very clear. I don't have any proof, but if you ask me, do I think that's what happened?
And that should have ended the interview. I don't have any proof. Well, if you don't have any proof, why would you say it? What leads you to believe that Alina Habba is charging her because she's a black woman? Did you see the video? I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. There's not much left to interpretation. She charged after these people. She pushed them. She used her girth. Doesn't matter if she was white, green, purple, or black. She did it. I don't know how you can get around that and say, oh, they're only charging her because she's a black woman. Well, maybe she shouldn't have done what she did.
Happened? Yes, I think that's what happened. I think if it was a white congressperson, they would not have arrested her.
Just got word that LaMonica McIver, a hard-working member of Congress, has been criminally charged by this corrupt Trump administration. What the F is wrong with you? Congresswoman McIver didn't commit any crime.
Didn't commit any crime. I don't know how this guy's cadence, where he came up with this. This makes me drive crazy that he talks like this and makes even less sense. Who talks like that? Obviously, he's choreographed. He's making it up, and I'm pretty sure she got charged with a crime, but she didn't do nothing.
It's clear to me that she was there doing her best to try to protect Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman, who's an 80-year-old cancer survivor. LaMonica and two other members of Congress were there conducting a constitutionally protected oversight visit. The charge against LaMonica McIver needs to be dropped. It needs to be dropped immediately. And we're going to make sure that every single person responsible for this corrupt abuse of power and egregious overreach is held accountable.
And all the other crazy stuff that they're going to say about her. How do you see this?
We've all seen that video, and it's absurd to charge a member of Congress, Representative McIver, with doing anything other than doing her job.
Doing anything other than doing her job. As I mentioned, what in her job description says that she's allowed to force her way in someplace, to physically manhandle people? I'm not saying they were threatened by her. I'm not saying that they were even hurt by her. You don't have to. The fact of the matter is, assault does not require injury. And she's definitely assaulting people. So Norm Eisen, who gets paid $1 gazillion by the Democrat Party to sue everybody for anything, he's out here trying to run interference for her as well.
Yes, it was an intense situation. There was no crime there. What was Ras Baraka's crime? The mayor. They just had to throw out the charges against him. What did Judge Dugan do? over in Wisconsin.
Right.
Michael, she simply controlled her courtroom. She let a migrant exit into a public hallway. The Department of Justice.
Okay, so number one, it's not a migrant. We've established that many times. Number two, he makes it sound so euphemistic. She just helped escort him down a hallway. You left the other part out where the federal officers were coming to get him. I often wonder, and I tell you guys all the time, how stupid must you be to watch this news? Because there are some people who watch this and believe it's true. I don't know how they cannot use their own eyes to discern.
Under Donald Trump, and AG Pam Bondi is running amok. Donald Trump promised he'd be a dictator on day one. He kept going. This is the latest example. No normal administration would do this, but the courts are going to have the last word with this. This will not stand.
Oh, well, maybe it will, because SB just sent me an update. Where did this drop? This dropped literally 15, 20 minutes ago. You'll like this one for the woman who did nothing. Democrat Monica Mclver has appeared before a judge virtually and has been ordered to surrender all her firearms and is barred from leaving the country. She faces up to 8 years in prison. But she did nothing. You got to surrender all your firearms and you can't leave the country. Sounds pretty serious, LaMonica. Sounds like the judge looked at the tape too and went, yeah, you better lawyer up. You better get a whole bunch of money. I hope this should be a short trial. In fact, her defense attorney at this point is probably going to say, there's nothing really you can do. You can cut a deal. And I hope Alina Habas says, no deals, no more. I gave you a shot. I asked you to allocute. Allocute means say, I did this, I did that, and then we'll give you a lighter sentence, maybe some probation. So I give you a chance to allocute. But you didn't want to allocute. I didn't do nothing. Now you get the horns. You mess with the bull, now you're going to get them horns. Speaking of insanity, SB also sent me this, which is not related, but it's kind of related. This is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Judge Brian Murphy in Boston, listen to this, just ruled that the Trump administration violated his order by deporting illegals to South Sudan, including 5 convicted murderers. What is actually wrong with these judges? Can Congress please stop arguing once and for all? Can we rein them in? Can we do something? They're actually being ordered to go over to South Sudan, or at least keep the people in custody, because you shouldn't have taken these newcomer murderers out of the country. Yeah, tickety tock tock. It's coming. It's absolutely coming. These people have sold themselves out, and there's nothing much any of us can do other than to put these people in prison. It's treason. They are advocating for people to be in this country who are not supposed to be in this country to begin with, but who also have extremely bad records. Killers. And worse. Yes, SCOTUS already ruled that he can... Yeah, they don't care, so Trump shouldn't care. Exactly. Jack said, it's the swamp of Massachusetts again. Yep, you know what you should do? Put a wall around Boston. Let them live here. We'll just drop them all off right there. Remember what happened at Martha's Vineyard when they dropped off all the newcomers? Oh, hey, how you doing? Nice. Get on the plane, get out of here. You ain't got to go home, but you can't stay here. And they got them out of Martha's Vineyard really quick. Not here. Sick of this BS. Where was that? That was a good one. We're sick of this BS, just like Epstein did himself. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk. You better hold on when we get to there. My baby didn't do nothing. Oh, gosh. That's racist. It sure is. But these people are absolute morons. And so it's crazy. All right, let's continue here, because otherwise we'll be here all night with all the stuff I have for you. Let's go.
Devin, thank you so much for being here this morning. I want to get your take first on the Russia collusion part of that interview. What struck you?
I was fascinated. There's nobody better than Kash and Dan, or I should say Director Patel and Deputy Director Bongino. Those two guys know more about the Russia hoax than anyone else that's out there. And I'm going to be fascinated to see what this new information is that they found buried somewhere within that Hoover building, because I do think that transparency is key. And, now that we have, Ed Martin, who was supposed to be the U.S. attorney.
I'm showing this because this interview with Devin Nunes came on right after the interview with Kash and Dan. And if you remember in that interview, Kash Patel said, give us 2 weeks. All right, so we're coming up on the 1 week notice, Kash. You got a little over a week. Well, you had about 10 days before you better come up with something. Let's take Saturday and Sundays off because you got a Saturday, Sunday this week, a Saturday, Sunday next. You got about 5-6 days. But Devin says he's anxious to hear what exactly you're talking about as well, because he didn't see it and he was there before you.
In Washington, D.C., now the president has appointed him to go after this. So I think both Kash and Dan were pretty clear. They're going to follow the facts. They're going to provide transparency. And then ultimately it's up to the Department of Justice to hold these dirty cops responsible for what they've drugged this country through for the last almost decade now.
Well, you've called Jim Comey like a figurehead, but talked about others who are really driving this lie. Let me ask you this. Who do you believe was the mastermind behind the Russia collusion lie?
Well, there's a lot of masterminds, but I think in general, this was lit on fire by Obama, Team Obama and his team after Trump won in 2016.
All right, so let's stop right there because that's the name he dropped. And that name keeps popping up. It popped up in Diddy's trial. It's popping up all over the place. And it looks as though they're starting to zero in on Obama. I showed you 2 nights ago, President Trump, what he posted when he was talking about military tribunals. And he said all roads lead to Obama. Again, watching communications, we don't know who he's talking to, but something is definitely in the mix for Devin Nunes to say that.
They could have stopped it. They should have stopped it. Instead, they lit the fuse. They put out a BS intelligence report, if you recall, right before the president came in. They framed General Flynn. They framed the entire Trump administration. And then they appointed Mueller. So once Trump fired Comey, Mueller gets appointed. And then we lived through that Mueller witch hunt for years. And I think, me personally, I think if you're going to find criminality, it's going to be with Mueller and his witch hunters that were there for so many years. I think that's where you're going to find the corruption. So it wasn't just I said this many times, Maria, and I think it was lost on people. It wasn't just about all the corruption that they did to create and manufacture the Russia hoax. The Mueller investigation itself was a hoax and was illegal.
Now it's taken this long. I mean, Devin Nunes, he was in Congress. He was involved in some of this stuff, and he's no longer in Congress. He's actually running True Social at this point. But there's no new news. This is one of the things that's bothering me and probably bothering some of you, and it's causing a division in the Trump circles. And what I mean by that is nothing new has come out. She had this interview with Devin, and it was almost like it was supposed to be jaw-dropping interview, and it was supposed to be full of fire, and many of us were like, well, yeah, we've known all this. What are you going to do about it? That's what we want to know. And let me preface before I get to the stuff I'm going to talk to about Dan Bongino and Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. Yes, I still have faith. It's not so much a belief. I believe they're the right people for the job. And when I get to that, I'll tell you why I still feel they're the right people for the job. Some of you guys may disagree. Some of you guys may have moved on from Kash and Dan already. And you have reason to feel that way. Well, you have partial reason to feel that way.
Mueller walked into that door. How many times did I say it? He said, "Where are the Russians?" "Oh, sir, there are none." Why didn't Mueller leave? Why did all those people work for years? Why did they hide the information from Congress for so many years? I think
That's fine. How about the answers? We already know the questions. Every single person in this chat, everyone who's followed this story for years now, we all know the questions. The problem is nobody has provided the answers. Nobody. And everybody who has tried to has been called a conspiracy theorist. But they use that for everybody. So the answers to those questions that Devin Nunes is just talking about, that's the problem. We have not gotten definitive answers in years. And it just keeps perpetuating.
Find many of those top-level lawyers and FBI agents, as Cash said, did not conduct themselves in a professional manner. And I think if interviewed again, you could maybe get to the bottom of it. But look, you have two guys that want to get to the bottom of it. I have every faith that they will.
I want to ask you about McCabe, Strzok, and the rest. Let's take a break and come right back. I'm talking with Devin Nunes. We'll be right back on Sunday Morning Futures. Welcome back. I'm back with former House Intelligence Committee Chairman and the CEO of Trump Media and Technology Group, owner of Truth Social, Devin Nunes. Devin, you just mentioned Robert Mueller. Is that where we're going to see accountability? Are we not going to see any accountability from the likes of McCabe, Strzok, and what about Comey?
Well, Dan and Cash are part of the cleanup crew now. So because you had the initial criminality, you had the Clinton campaign doing what they did. Then you have Obama that lights that basically lights the fuse. Well, then you had Mueller, who basically came in and covered it all up. So I think when you go in and start to look at that, remember, like everybody's paying attention to Biden, and recently these her tapes were released, and people, everybody knew. Now they act like they knew that Biden, was essentially out of it. Well, those lawyers that were working for Mueller had to know that Mueller was out of it. Before Biden craziness, you had Mueller craziness.
See, I don't know if you guys remember that. They kept saying that Mueller was running the investigation. And you had Rod Rosenstein and other people that were out there in the front, very similar to what's been going on with Biden. And then when they finally brought Mueller in to testify, you're like, this dude? So it was a scam then as well. They were hiding behind him, probably just rubber stamping things. And nobody knew. Nobody knew what these people were doing. And then they hid it. And so now Devin is saying the cleanup crew, Cash and Dan and whoever else they have working on this, these are the guys who now have to expose it all. And it's obvious that they have to navigate certain things, but a lot of people are getting very, very suspect as to what's going on.
I just believe that the agents and people that moved from the Russia hoax into the Mueller witch hunt hoax, those people need to be interviewed, and there should be accountability there. I'm really anxious and want to learn from what Director Patel said, this new information. I wonder if it does have to do with that. I don't know yet. I mean, I'm sure that I will, that we will see it as a President's Intelligence Board. We will get all that information. The President's been very clear with me when he asked me to take on this role. He wants the corruption cleaned out.
Yeah.
He wants the politicization cleaned up. And I think what we're seeing here is you got to have transparency. You now have Ed Martin put in place in Washington, D.C. Now, look, we can't deal with the justices and that problem.
Well, that's right.
But we'll have to deal with it one day at a time.
I mentioned Judge Boasberg. He was the one who gave Kevin Kleinsmith a smack on the wrist when Kevin Kleinsmith said, no, Carter Page is not a CIA asset, which he was. And what did he
See how that name keeps popping up? Just that. She brought that into the mix. How is it that this Judge Boasberger keeps popping up? He's like a bad penny. He keeps getting jurisdiction on so many of these cases. That's not mathematically possible. These cases are supposed to be on a round-robin basis, spread out amongst a number of judges. So there's a problem there in terms of how he keeps getting assigned these cases. Are Dan and Cash digging into that? Nobody knows. You see, the first trigger that we're going to know something is up, even if there's, and you guys can follow along, even if there's all kinds of investigations that are being done in private, where they can't tell you exactly what they're doing, what you can feel real comfortable at this point is they haven't seemingly even got to the grand jury stage. Means they haven't convened a grand jury to say, hey, listen, can we indict X, Y, Z or a person? because everybody would really peek up if there was a grand jury convened. And as of tonight, I have not seen anybody report anywhere that a grand jury has been convened by Cash, Pam, or Dan. And so that would indicate they're still looking, trying to put together a case before they bring it even to a grand jury. So that tells me, I don't know where we are. I don't know how long it's going to be, but they haven't, as far as we know at this point, unless it's a secret court, could be a FISA, or who knows how they're doing it, but they haven't shown that they've even brought it to a grand jury yet.
Community service. And here comes Judge Boasberg again, trying to stop President Trump on the immigration plans.
Yeah, every time you peel something back here, Maria, what we learn is the corruption was much worse than what we thought. And I think because President Trump has come in, he's cleaning things out, he's putting good people in. Now what we're dealing with is the last part the left owns are the judges.
Yeah.
And now we're learning about what the judges are doing.
Devin, thank you very much. Devin Nunes.
You see, that may in and of itself be the tell. We're now finding out what the judges are doing. Maybe before they could even, maybe, complete supposition here, maybe before they would bring any charges, they had to find out what the judges are doing, who's in whose pocket, how far are they digging in it. But in order to get that kind of a warrant, you would think the judge would know if somebody was looking into his finances or something. So who knows what's about to happen. The only thing I keep falling back on is because Donald Trump knows this has to end. It has to come to a head very soon. It cannot just continue throughout the summer. Can't happen. And that's why when he's dropping these breadcrumbs and he's telling you, hey, by the way, you like how I renovated the office here? You see that guy's picture? That guy's picture right there, that's Andrew Jackson. That's why I think either he's communicating or something, because you can't just keep it going. The American people will become deflated if you're waiting till August or September or October before something happens. You can only go so far before the American people are going to want to know something. Now, this whole thing with Biden now pops up. And you guys have seen the mea culpa that some of the people in the media are coming up with. And I have a theory, nothing more than a theory, about what's going on with the Biden, the media stuff that's happening. And I'm going to give you that theory as we begin walking through some of this stuff with Biden.
To do that, wouldn't you be getting regular checkups? Yeah, so it depends on the kind of cancer you're talking about here. We do know it's quite aggressive again. So the time in which it would take to spread to the bones is going to be shorter than with a less aggressive cancer. And he's 82. Normally, doctors will stop screening for prostate cancer at 75 or so, because after that, the prostate cancers you typically pick up are very slow growing. And so the harms of all of the testing and treatment for something that may not kill you, you're talking about risk versus benefit. It may not be worth the risk.
Isn't there a blood test that...
Can I put an asterisk on that, lady? You're actually selling this crap to CBS. You're talking about the President of the United States at that time. So you're telling me, hey, he's over 75, let's not even bother testing him. Because most people don't get tested. That's because most people aren't the President of the United States. They're trying everything to obfuscate. None of it's working. Well, it might be working on some of the people on the left, way left, but everybody with half a brain is realizing this is messed up.
And can take to know if they have an issue that might warrant further examination?
So there's something that we call a PSA test, but that can also be indicative of many different things. It could just be you have an enlarged prostate. Maybe you have a low-grade infection in the prostate. There are many things that can cause that, and so this is, again, why after a certain age, doctors will typically stop screening for prostate cancer.
Wow.
But in his case, it's not screening. It's important to emphasize this was diagnostic because he had urinary symptoms. And so there was a reason to do more testing.
So it's not worth the risk. What risk? You're 80, 82, 81 probably while you're running for the campaign. It was a risk, so we didn't want to test. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. None whatsoever. And now you're starting to see, or you probably have seen over the last couple of days, many people in the media, now they're mad because it's even being brought up. They don't even want you talking about it. You're attacking this old man. Oh, how could you?
Should anonymous sources who talked to Tapper have spoken up about their concerns while he was in office, while he was still in office? And my other question is, why is this important to know now?
Yeah. Well, that's what some people want to know.
It just seems to me, yeah, you know, we got a lot of stuff to be concerned about at the moment. So
you see the gaslighting happening now? Why are we worried about it now? He's not even in office. He's not the president. You don't want to look back and see what he did while he was wacko. In a couple clips I'm going to show you, nobody mentions it. They still have not mentioned, hey, listen, if he was sick and he was incapacitated, who was running the country? And the media is like, no, just let it go. It's over. It's bye. It's not over. Donald Trump is not going to let this go. In fact, he posted this morning about treason. So they can try, but they're not deflecting. They're just trying to gaslight the people who watch these stupid shows.
Yeah. So I list them? Yes. Yes, okay. Please. Here's the Trump's atrocities. I'm going to list them for you. Cutting Medicaid. Yeah. Well, this is what we're concerned about now.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Cutting Medicaid, slashing funding for cancer research. Yep. Rising prices because of tariffs. Dismantling USAID, which helps children and people who are poor around the world. Yeah. Fears of recession, destroying due process, ending birthright citizenship, dismantling the Department of Education, rolling back regulations on air and water quality, destroying our relationships with allies like Canada and the UK, and targeting his political opponents. Preach. And that, not only that, but he also said that Joe Biden has stage 9 cancer. Oh, really? Where did he come up with that? When is Jake Tapper going to write a book about the cognitive decline of the person who is in charge right now?
That's some other breaking news just coming into us.
See? Deflect, deflect, deflect. You should go check out Trump. He's got cognitive decline. There's something behind this fire. There is the smoke. There's fire behind the smoke is what I'm trying to say. There couldn't be this much of a campaign to gaslight people if they weren't worried about what exactly is coming. They know what's coming. You know what's coming because President Trump keeps hinting at it. It is no longer a conspiracy theory. Now the rats are just circling the bowl. They don't know what to do because they're all caught at this point. Every possible trap that President Trump and hopefully Dan and Pam and Cash have put out there, they've stepped in all of it. And so now you imagine this huge maze where all the rats are caught in the maze. There's so much videotape. There's so much stuff that they've said. And now there's no way that they can go back and fix it because they don't control anything. And so all these networks can do is try to make you feel bad about even questioning this.
Now, new details about the health of former President Biden and that prostate cancer diagnosis. A couple of new details literally just in from his team and ours here, with a spokesperson telling our Kelly O'Donnell that before Friday, the former president had not been diagnosed with cancer. We're also learning more about when he last had that so-called PSA screening that detects any abnormalities in the blood. This is after, of course, that announcement that the former president has an aggressive form of the cancer that has spread to his bones, with a lot of questions around how long he may have had this, around whether this could or should have been caught sooner. Kelly is joining us now after getting that new reporting.
So you notice, again, they're talking about when did he have it, should have been caught. They're worried about the disease. Nobody is talking about what was going on with the country. Now, every single one of these people, just so you know, they follow every single word that President Trump puts out. They have seen what this man has written. They have seen that he says all roads go to Obama. They have seen where he's posted different things about Andrew Jackson. And they had to have seen today, or was it yesterday, when he jumped out there and was talking about treason. But just like everything else, they choose to ignore it. Let me bring that up in case there's people here who didn't have a chance to read this. And he was very forthright with it. Where is it? Okay. If President Trump put this out, and you're in the media, you've seen this. I know you've probably seen it, but let's just look at this again. Joe Biden was not for open borders. He never talked about open borders where criminals of all kinds, shapes, and sizes can flow into our country at will. It wasn't his idea to open the border and almost destroy our country and cost hundreds of billions of dollars to get the criminals out of the country and go through the process we are going through now. It was the people that knew he was cognitively impaired and took over the autopet. They stole the presidency of the United States and put us in great danger. This is treason at the highest level. So the President of the United States, the current President of the United States, is telling you, it's not the problem that we didn't know he was sick. The problem, ladies and gentlemen, is that this is treasonous because they took over everything, and it says something very severe should happen to these treasonous thugs that wanted to destroy America but couldn't because I came along. Something very severe should happen to these treasonous thugs. So you're in the media right now, and you're talking about, oh, the disease, and we didn't see the disease, and President Trump posted this yesterday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Treason is the highest crime in the country, and nobody in the media is even talking about it. Let that sink in for a second. That the President of the United States, the leader of the free world, is saying treason occurred. And no one in the media even wants to broach that subject. You would think after seeing what the President of the United States said, there would be people falling over themselves that, hey, can we define treason? And how could he say that about treason? Nobody's talking about it. None of the talk shows, none of them. Maybe not even Fox. It is such a bridge too far for them. And I'm going to tell you my hypothesis on why it's too far for them as well.
Last couple of minutes. Thanks for getting to a camera, Kel. So fill us in as to what we're learning and why it's significant.
These are incremental updates, but they do address some of the questions that have come after the world has sort of absorbed this news about the former president. And his office says that he was diagnosed on Friday with this type of prostate cancer that had metastasized to his bones, making it, based on what medical experts say, doctors and so forth, incurable but treatable. And so what we're learning now is the question of, could that have happened quickly since the time he left office? Or is it likely that there was an undiagnosed cancer during the time that he served in the White House here? So a couple of facts that are responsive to that. His advisors say that he was never diagnosed with prostate cancer prior to the Friday diagnosis. And also they're saying that his last PSA test, that's that blood test that measures an antigen related to the prostate gland in men, was last done in 2014. That's a long time.
They're lying. They're 100% lying. Bush took it, Obama took it, Trump took it, but you're saying that the president who was last year didn't take it, didn't take the test. You're lying. You're absolutely lying. So all these, quote, as President Trump calls them, treasonous thugs, this is a conspiracy that they're continuing to weave on America. Maybe some of them don't know, but none of them are talking about it. Except, we're going to listen to some stuff that Jake Tapper said.
Ago, but that does line up with what the general medical advice is for men at age 70. That would be no longer a recommended test, and it is a test that gives an indication. It is not conclusive. That we've all been reading about how there are sometimes false positives, false negatives. So that would have been within the guidelines of appropriate medical care for a man of his age. Now, you could ask further questions, but he's not just a typical man over 70. He was the President of the United States? And could there have been more screening and more testing? And those are the kinds of questions that inevitably follow all of this. But his office is providing that information. In 2014, for the last PSA test, no cancer diagnosis prior to Friday. Hallie?
And just so folks understand sort of why these questions have come up from a comparison basis here, Kel, when 2014, former President Biden would have been over the age of 70. Current President Trump is over the age of 70, but we understand from the White House and from his medical screening that he does get that screening and did as recently as this past year, despite his age, right?
It wasn't notable at the time, but in the formal report that was put out when the current president's medical summary was released, it does indicate a PSA test that is 0.1, so well below the 4, which is the normal range. He is going to be 79 next month. We don't know why he's taking the test, but President Biden did not. Those are medical questions that are really between doctor and patient, and perhaps we'll be able to get more insight on that going forward.
Kelly O'Donnell, the tip of the reporting spear for us on this. Kelly, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Knowing what I know. So the tip of the reporting spear is what she's saying. She didn't report anything. I could have probably clipped together an hour worth of coverage. An hour. Easily could have put an hour's worth of coverage in. And as you look, and again, allowing you to do your own research, as I always ask you, nobody is reporting what the President of the United States said. It's like it never happened. How can you look at what the President of the United States, the leader of the free world, puts in big letters, treason at the highest level? So how can you possibly be a news station, CBS, MSNBC, CNN? How can you be a news station and you're not covering the words of the president? It can't be by accident. There's no way it could be by accident. So then when you realize there's no accident, you realize it's intentional. Don't say anything about treason. We can't even speak that into existence. We can't talk about that to our audience. We can't do it. We'll leave that to the conspiracy theorists on YouTube and those podcaster guys. Let them talk about it. Well, it's not me talking about it. It's the President of the United States talking about it. That's news. If the president pooped in the middle of the Oval Office, it would be worldwide news. He spoke about treason, the highest crime in the country, and not a single news station anywhere is talking about it. So I'm going to give you my hypothesis here in a second. I want you to listen to Jake Tapper as Megyn Kelly begins to eviscerate him and clip his nuts.
Now, obviously, I feel tremendous humility about my coverage, that Laura Trump interview, for example, etc. She saw something that I did not see at the time, 100%. And I own that. I did ask Joe Biden to be transparent about his health records in an interview in 2020. I did ask him about the fact that voters thought that he was not transparent at all. No.
He promised you that he would be transparent about his health records, and then he wasn't. And when you sat with him again,
at all.
including 1 month after the Jackie Walorski thing, you didn't ask him about it. You didn't follow up on the fact that he was falling up the stairs, that he was losing his train of thought regularly, that he was slurring, that he was incomprehensible, that he was getting lost on the White House lawn. You sat right across from him and you asked none of that, notwithstanding the fact that he had promised you he would be fully transparent about his health issues.
That's true, but I did ask him about his age and the fact that the American people had concluded that even though he said whenever anybody brought up the subject of his age, watch me, and I said, yes, they're watching you and they are concerned that you were too old for this job.
You know as well as I do that there's a way of, you can say, hey, there's this poll on your age, or you could say, you just forgot that Jackie Walorski was dead. You asked where she was moments after watching a videotape tribute to her. You lowered the flags at the White House after she died. This happened 13 days before you sat with him. There is a way of pressing a man like that on the actual infirmities to bring it home to him and to the audience, and you didn't do it.
That's correct. I didn't. And like I said, I feel humility about my coverage. I mean, it's not like I was asking him his favorite movie or his favorite color. We were talking about Putin. We were talking about other issues of national importance. But yeah, I mean, of course, I've said I look back at my coverage with humility, and
it shouldn't be humility. That's not the word I would pick. I would pick fraudulent. I would pick shame. I would pick ignorance. I would pick in the tank. Pick all those words. No, I don't want to hear about your humility. I'm being humble because I missed it. You didn't miss anything. You've been in journalism for 25 plus years. You know what to look for. You chose not to look for it. And you're still choosing not to look for it. I don't even know why you wrote the book or why they gave you access to the book. Who triggered you and said, take him out? Who gave the order? Because you and your partner Alex decided you're going to take Joe Biden out. Somebody said, go for it. You would not be writing this book and risk things if you weren't told, go for it. So who was it? I wish Megan would have asked him, who told you to write this book? And why are you writing it? And she's going after him.
I did cover the issues of age and acuity, but I wish I had covered them much more. And I wish, I mean, of course, it's May 2025. Do I wish that in that 10, 15-minute interview I had with Biden in October 2022, that this had been the only subject? Because I had then
well, it wasn't
what I
just
know
that,
now.
though, Jake. It wasn't just that. I mean, you sat with him a couple of times in the course of his presidency, and these issues were not pressed. Well, there was at least that time, and then there was the time at the beginning. And but separate and apart from that, you covered the Biden's presidency. No. Let me just finish my point. You covered the Biden presidency.
I had one
okay, right, and it was 13 days after the Jackie Walorski thing. But you covered the Biden presidency aggressively throughout the 4 years, and you didn't cover mental acuity hardly at all. I mean, time and time again, when issues came up, you seemed to be running cover for the president.
I don't see, now that's what's really important. Now she's getting to the crux of the matter, and what I'm going to be telling you in a second, what my hypothesis is about this whole thing. Some of you guys are going to go, oh, Barry, you're nuts. But she's pointing it out. Why all of a sudden? Why now are you going with the pointed book? For years, you looked the other way. There's so much tape. There's so many newscasts where I actually have Twitter profiles where you came after me and tried to yell at me for calling you out for Hillary Clinton. You've been in the tank the entire time. And now all of a sudden, you write this book taking out Joe Biden. Why? Why now?
Interested. Well, I mean, we'll start with the Laura Trump issue that you referred. Here it is. This happened in 2020.
Joe Biden, as we all know, has worked to overcome a stutter. How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline. Okay. That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable
you have
to
no
watch somebody on stage search for
this so amazing.
You're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter. Yeah, I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline.
And it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the leader of the free world. Okay. That is all I'm saying. I genuinely feel sorry for Joe Biden.
I appreciate it. I'm sure it was from a place of concern. We all believe that. Laura Trump, thank you so much.
So he's making fun of Laura. He's defending Biden at all costs, even to the point of just mocking Laura Trump and saying, yeah, I'm sure you have concern. But now all of a sudden you're dropping dime on him. Why all of a sudden did you turn? This is what Megan's trying to find out. What the hell's going on? You knew. Everybody told you. You looked away.
Do you want to apologize to Laura Trump now?
I've already apologized to her. I called her months ago.
And what did she say?
I mean, I don't want to disclose the contents of a private conversation, but I thought the conversation went well. And she said, she has said this publicly, so I feel fine sharing it. She said that she would never mock anybody's stutter. But I mean, after we did the research for this book and I realized how bad his acuity issues were, I called Laura Trump and I said, you were right.
So it wasn't until he wrote the book and got further access to Joe Biden did his eyes finally say, oh, this guy's one step away from a drool cup. It wasn't until he wrote the book. Everything he saw every single night on CNN, every single thing he saw, every talk, every speech, every visit with a world leader, none of that sunk in at that point that this guy has a problem. Now all of a sudden, he's got a problem. But he still, even with the acuity issues, hasn't talked about the big T word.
Right. That's the thing, because when I watched that clip, and I'm giving voice to what a lot of people watching the show are feeling, Jake, I feel angry because she was right. And not only did you not allow her to make her comments, but you seemed to try to humiliate her. You had a hostility toward the position, but she was totally right. And then you lectured her on how she was in no position to diagnose cognitive decline, which you guys do at length, including on page 4 of your book. You describe at length his cognitive decline, which is all she tried to do with you. But you had such a visceral reaction to her. And my feeling is that's because you didn't want to hear it.
No, I'm happy to talk about this. I didn't come here thinking that you weren't going to ask me about this. So I'm happy to talk to you about it.
No, I know.
The first time I saw the coverage of Laura Trump's comments, which were interpreted as her mocking Joe Biden's stutter, was in January 2020. I read it in conservative media. I read it in the Daily Mail. And that's where I saw that her comments were being interpreted that way. After those comments were publicized, it got a lot of coverage, and Sully Sullenberger wrote an op-ed in the New York Times criticizing her about this. So that's the context for that, that I was following up on a story that had been out there months before. This is also...
Let me ask you. You guys know that this guy's been on TV forever. He's very polished. He can talk. Maybe he reads a teleprompter, whatever it is, note cards, script. But he's been on television for decades. And he's being asked questions about a book that he wrote. And he's seemingly having issues talking about that in front of somebody without being able to lean on a teleprompter or a producer in his ear. Why is that? What are you still... You just wrote a tell-all book which just basically said that Joe Biden was a walking zombie, but you're having a hard time articulating, almost as if you're, I don't know, keeping something in that you're not looking to go to. And of course, we know what that is. Nobody wants to talk about the result of Joe Biden being a vegetable. Nobody wants to even broach the subject of, well, if this is true, if your book is actually a true story and not fiction, then doesn't it beg to say there's something else here we need to be discussing? And why is nobody discussing it? And I challenge you to go out there and find anybody discussing treason. The president, as I've said, I don't want to beat a dead horse, the president of the United States said there's somebody committed treason. And nobody in the news wants to even talk about it. Why?
Context of October 2020, a very intense time. People on the Biden side are saying crazy things about Trump. People on the Trump side are saying crazy things about Biden, including Don Jr. suggesting that Joe Biden is a pedophile. So that is the larger context. But as I said, her comments have aged well. My comments have aged poorly. I own that. But I think what is significant is, in addition to me owning that, the reporting that Alex and I have done, which is beyond just, and when I say just, I don't mean to diminish it, but the comments of Joe Biden making gaffes, saying things stupid, tripping, are all important and all deserved to be aired and all deserve scrutiny. But as you know, Megan, because even though you look 30 years younger than me, we're roughly the same age, Joe Biden has been saying stupid things for decades. Okay.
What was that all about? Why you got to say anything about the way she looks or her age, and that Joe Biden's been saying stupid things for decades? And what about the book that his daughter wrote? Was that not true? You know, Laura Trump said something that he referenced there that I can't say, but was there not something in her book that said that Daddy used to come in and drop the soap? Don't want to talk about that either. So you're still hiding things. You're not being completely true with the American public. You're still being reserved. You're being very careful with what you say, which would be the opposite of someone who's dropping a bombshell in a book, which tells me it's probably orchestrated, because you're not just out there, hey man, he was whacked. I found out so much stuff. We found out that he couldn't function here and this did blah, blah, blah. That's not how he's acting. You're writing a book. It was a tell-all book. You did your research. Why aren't you just saying it? That's what I caught from this entire interview. Plus the other guy not saying anything. That's his partner.
Get what you're saying, but this minimizes it too, because it was more than saying stupid things. But I'm telling you, like over here in my ecosphere, we were covering all of these. It wasn't just falling down; it was getting lost. It was some of the stuff you report in your book. We knew, and we were reporting on, like the multi-jump cuts in the videos of him, where it was obvious he couldn't get through a 1-minute take, so they had to use those. It was clear to us that he was using teleprompter, and there was some reporting on that at the time, all of which the White House was denying. Now, with the current White House, I have some connections. With the Joe Biden White House, I had none, but you did. You did. And so while... You've been in Washington 30 years, Jake. You guys, you and CNN have White House connections, but there was no effort, none, to get to the bottom of this. And now for you guys to write this book like there was a cover-up, it's like there was a cover-up and there was an attempted cover-up. It could only ever work if you allowed it.
Bingo. She ended his career, should have been. It only happened because you people allowed it. When President Trump said, and let me bring it back up, when he wrote this, and I love how she closed that interview, because she said the exact words that you guys should be focusing on. She said, you guys covered up. You guys. Which President Trump said something should happen to these treasonous thugs that wanted to destroy our country. He's talking about people like Jake Tapper. Let me show you something that I tweeted this earlier today. This comes directly from the book. Directly. People imagined a vast democratic machine moving pieces on a grand chessboard. But in truth, it was one old man and a handful of enablers carrying out his every whim. And so I said, yeah, you know what's coming, don't you? You know what's coming. A handful of enablers carrying out his every whim. It wasn't a handful. It was the people in the White House using the auto pen, but it was also all you people in the media who were carrying the water for the Biden administration. You didn't dare say anything wrong. You even mocked the president's daughter-in-law. Oh, you're just... But now you're saying everything is true. So here's Barry's hypothesis. And this is where, maybe I put on the tinfoil hat. But here's what I think is happening in the media right now as President Trump is beginning to talk about treason. This is what I feel. I feel that the media, mea culpa about Joe Biden, oh my goodness, oh yeah, we didn't know, are basically applications for the Witness Protection Program. They know what they did, and they know what's coming. Every single one of these people, from MSNBC to The View to CNN, and maybe even some people on Fox, they all knew what was happening. They were in the press room every single day. They were told, write good stories about Joe Biden, destroy anybody who talked badly about him. And they did it with proficiency and aggression. So they contributed to the treasonous activity. And what I see right now, when I just looked at Jake Tapper, when I watched that video, and I'm like, that just reminds me of somebody who's trying to save his own ass at this point. What do you need to know? I want to make sure I've got one of those cards when the music stops. The rest of them, sorry about you. You guys can keep doing what you want. You guys on MSNBC. I'm going to make sure I still have a career. I'm going to write this book and make it seem like, hey, I didn't know. But now I know. I'm telling you guys all. Don't be surprised if in the very near future you see Jake Tapper subpoenaed. Don't be surprised if you don't see he and Alex become witnesses. Because now, Pam Bondi, you want to earn your keep? You're going to have to bring somebody in like him who wrote this book. And you're not going to be able to get his sources or anything like that, but you're going to start digging deeper. As he began doing his research, he had to have seen or heard some of the stuff that was going on in the Biden White House. You don't have to name who told you. You don't have to name even the people you saw, but you're going to tell us what exactly it is that you found out. Let that sink in. Hey, Jake, sit in front of me. We're going to have like a 7-hour deposition here. I got all kinds of questions for you and your partner. And by the way, you're under oath. And so, good luck. Here we go. And they just start asking him questions. You wrote it in a book. I've got all kinds of video. I can just play tape after tape. So when you said this, what did you mean? But in the book on page 125, you said this. Oh, by the way, Jake, we have this one line in the book that says that. It was one old man and a handful of enablers carrying out his every whim. That's not hearsay. You're saying it. Who are the handful of enablers? TikTok. Don't lie. You didn't say a source told you. That's a quote. You didn't say one of my sources told me that it was a handful of enablers. Your sentence taken right from the book was there was an old man and a handful of enablers. Who are they? How long were they doing this stuff? What were they allowed to do? How much did you find out? Give me the manuscript that you wrote, the stuff that didn't make it to the final edit. I need to see your research paper. You can sanitize it and take out sources. I need to see your... Oh, God. This is a treasure trove of information, and I firmly believe he's basically trying to get a get out of jail card before the shit hits the fan. Because you can't possibly see the President of the United States, the leader of the free world, talk about treason without your butt puckering really hard because you've been involved. And he's the first one that we know of. There may be others. There may be others who have said the same thing, like, whoa, wait, this is getting deep here, huh? Do you know what the penalty for treason is? Bye-bye. Penalty for treason isn't going to Gitmo, not going to Alcatraz. You're swinging. You're done. You're facing the squad. Old Smokey, he might be getting revved up. You're done. So at this point, when President Trump decides to go full Andrew Jackson, some, if not many of these people in the media are going to be found culpable. You were involved in helping promote treason. Barry, you're reaching. Am I? Am I really reaching? When the President of the United States posts something like that, am I really reaching? Treasonous thugs, not just one, plural, and that everybody knew Joe Biden would never do this. So who did? The treasonous thugs. So my hypothesis, and I'm not asking you to believe me, I'm asking you to disprove me. Barry, you're crazy. That can't possibly be it. Okay. Why is nobody mentioning it? I don't know if you have paid attention. This was just yesterday at 4 o'clock. Yeah, I could be crazy. I agree, Eric. This is deep. It's real deep. We have seen a scheme orchestrated not just against him, but against America by a whole lot of people. Whole lot. Business, tech, media. You watched it. Some of us have been shut up because we can't talk about things. And so all of that contributes to the decline of a country. Wait, how do you define treason? Maybe that's where it gets really, suspect, because treason probably has a big definition. In fact, let's look it up. Let's define treason. Let's see who definition of treason. I didn't even think this myself. Definition of treason. What do I come up with? Let's look at what the definition of treason actually is. Maybe we can find something that will kind of support all this. All right. Okay. Treason under the Constitution, not Merriam-Webster. Let's look at what the book says here. All right. So let me go ahead and squeeze this in here so it's a little bit smaller so you guys can figure. All right. There have been, I'll let you guys see this real quick here. Article 3 of the Constitution defines treason as levying war against the United States or adhering and providing aid or comfort to its enemies. Although there have been relatively few treason cases in American history, the Supreme Court has clarified what it means to levy war and provide aid and comfort to enemies. So, obviously, they did not levy war, I don't think, but let's look at down here. Treason explained. The Constitution defines treason as levying war against the United States or giving its enemies aid and comfort. I'm going to stop right there. If Trump is using this thing called the Alien Enemies Act, and you got the Democrats and the media falling over themselves to do what? I'm waiting. To provide aid and comfort to enemies. It also specifies that the federal government cannot secure a conviction unless two witnesses testify to the same overt act or if the person accused of treason confesses in open court. Clause 2 makes it clear that the Congress has the power to declare the punishment for treason. Consider the following frequently and ask questions about treason under the Constitution. What does levying war mean? It requires actions against the United States and not just a conspiracy against the nation. In other words, it means open action against the United States through the use of force. That one we can't use. I don't think there's been any use of force in that regard. Now, this is the one. Giving aid or comfort to an enemy means more than giving assistance. That is casually useful to them. Instead, the aid or comfort must assist the enemy in some essential way to assist in their plan or design to commit a treasonous act. Look at that sentence. Instead, the aid given must assist the enemy in some essential way to assist in their plan or design to commit a treasonous act. So the president is saying they committed treason. The Constitution is saying very specifically that to aid and comfort the enemy in an essential way to assist them in their grand design plan. So if the plan was to flood the country with 10 or 20 million newcomers and try to force them into the country, and that these people were basically under the umbrella of the Aliens Enemies Act, so they are classified as enemies, and you're out there openly giving these people comfort. It's so much so you're busting into detention centers. You're flying to El Salvador. You're letting everybody know, oh, so you want to aid and assist. What about these judges? Oh, bring them back here. Wait, you want me to bring back murderers and bring them back to our country? You want us to facilitate Oh, facilitate. Oh, what's facilitate mean? It means giving assistance in an essential way. Now, Barry, you may say you're gonna check out. Ooh, this guy's crazy. Again, I'm reading it. Adherence or loyalty to the enemy of the United States. He's already declared it an invasion. He's already said many times, enemies, Alien Enemies Act. He's already said, and the Supreme Court was 7-2 or 8-1 the other day, when he can start deporting these people who are called enemies. And yet the media has been doing everything to assist for years to shut us up and to promote the idea that President Trump and anybody who objected to these newcomers, you people were the problem, not them. They were doing everything they could to aid and assist, to the point of promoting these people getting money, getting luxury hotels with your money. You can go really deep with this, and at this point, I firmly have become, as I've been looking into this stuff, think that we're seeing people scurrying to get a chair before the music ends. Could be completely wrong, but maybe that's why Dan Bongino and Pam and Cash are like, oh man, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy, because nobody's focusing on what Trump's talking about. I challenge you. I challenge you to go find a post by Trump where he's talking about Epstein. Go ahead. Go through all his stuff and find a post anywhere about Epstein. However, you will find him talking about treason and invasions and everything else in that regard. He's been prolific in talking about that. And while everyone over here is screaming about Epstein, go look at what the boss has been posting. See how many times, if any, he's talked about Epstein. Why is that? Have you thought about it? Let's see, a toy in the 50s, Rosenberg were executed for giving nuclear secrets to the Russians. Yep. Treason and trying to make money off of it. Exactly. How about giving people a jab that they now have admitted today can kill you? Did you see that get slid in? Did you happen to see that get slid in today? It didn't get talked about on the news. Again, they ignore the stuff that... Wait a second. Are we now classifying this as causing death? Yep. And I saw that, I'm like, anybody? Oh, nobody's talking about it. Nobody. And you've seen the attitude of the Trump administration in these hearings. If they're anything, they're completely defiant. Almost looking in these senators and Congress people's faces and looking at them like, F you. F you. I've seen what you've done. Don't even talk to me. Like RFK Jr. told one of them, you've been here 30 years and you haven't done anything. Shut up. Marco Rubio just, hey, I would rescind my vote if I had the chance. That means I'm doing the right job. There's something really big happening and nobody wants to talk about it. You can go through here. Let's see, they take an oath to protect us from foreign or domestic. Exactly. Yeah. So I always tell you, hey, don't believe me. Don't trust me. This guy just said something. But I'm also giving you the opportunity to go look things up. Start putting the breadcrumbs together and see what you come up with. There I go. Barry's making me think. Barry's making me go out here and start looking. First of all, I'm going to look through all of President Trump's Truth Social. I'm going to look at everything he's put in Truth Social. I'm going to see everything he's written, see if anything pops up. And then I'm going to show you, I'll show you this real quick. Let me see if I can, I just have to make sure I get this correctly. All right, I'm going to show you something, and you can always check anybody, right? So let me get this ready. probably nobody's ever showed you this, because everyone always goes to Google, but they don't go to X and look for some things like this. Not sure if you've known, but let me see if I have to break the window down here. Might have to make it smaller so you guys can see. All right. Did you know that there was something on X called the advanced search function? You do now. You have to actually search it or have it already put in your browser. But if you look for advanced search X, before it was used to be called Twitter, and you go in here and there's a bunch of operators. Operators mean, what are you going to search for? Well, I want to search for the word Epstein. Okay. Let me start there. Any of these words. I want Epstein. Okay. I want to find out who's it from this account. I want to see from real Donald Trump. And it's going to search the history of all his tweets and then X posts. Any post that says Epstein. And you click search here. I'm doing this for the first time, so I don't know how many times it's going to show up. Boom. What are you worried about? What are you worried about? You're over here looking at this Epstein file shit? And the President of the United States, in both of his terms, and when he was just another guy, never even posted ever about Epstein. None. Does that make you think right now? Like, oh crap, never? None. I mean, I bet you if we come back here and I just change this to Biden, you're going to probably see a whole bunch of stuff. As long as the search operators are working. Yep. There's a whole bunch. So what does that tell you? What does it tell you? That you're probably not going to find any on True Social, and you probably won't even be able to go back and look for anything on X where he's ever mentioned the term. Just saying. Just saying. Look it up yourself. Most of you probably had never seen the advanced search feature on X. Now you know. Now you know there's an advanced feature that you can begin looking. And yeah, that's a cool feature. Exactly. If you've never used it before, it's pretty interesting. You can go in there and search anybody's handle and the word. Because I want to see anytime, anywhere you have used this word. And boom, it'll pop up. If they've ever tweeted about it. And he's never mentioned it. Interesting, isn't it? Exactly. I've been saying Epstein is just a distraction. Now you're seeing all this stuff. So I'm going to end that there before we do the Rumble jump over. And now you know for a fact, not a fact, now you know where my head is and what I'm thinking. And perhaps you can start doing your own investigatory research and see what you can come up with. See what makes sense for you and where this thing is headed. Because we know one thing's for sure. It cannot continue. So if it can't continue this way, what exactly is the outcome? I don't think President Trump is a stupid person. And I don't think he's going to continue letting these judges run things. Because like he posted on the wall, hey, you know who this guy here, Andrew Jackson, is, right? And as you can see him bringing in leaders and putting a bear trap in front of them. The guy from South Africa, Zelensky. How many leaders are going to be ready to come over here now? You're like, oh man, wait a second. We got invited to the White House. Oh no. Make sure you're clean. Because if you're not clean, he's going to give you a chance. You sure you want to answer that question the way they just asked it? And quickly. Well, I'll save it till after the jump. Because we're going to talk about what happened in South Africa. All right, people, if you guys want to join us in the after party over on Rumble, and where I'm going to be talking about this Beatdown today. And we're going to play some music, and we're going to have some fun. I'm going to talk to you about Dan and Kash Patel and Pam Bondi a little bit. So if you want to jump over, go ahead and jump over there and meet us as soon as, because what's going to happen is I'm going to take a break, and then when I take the break, we'll be there. We'll be over on Rumble. But not yet. Before we do that, let me talk to you. Let's see, what do we got here available for me to show you guys? We're going to talk about the Trump knife. And before I talk to you about the Trump knife, I've got to talk to you, or actually let someone else talk to you.
Fanfare family, I'm B. Michael Nace, one of the members of Barry Cunningham's channel. One of the things Barry advertises on his channel is the Trump knife. But Barry doesn't really get so much justice because Barry apparently is not the knife guy that I am. I've got thousands of knives around my house. But this knife is really awesome. One, check this out. This is a power-assisted folding knife with a liner lock. A glass breaker at the tip. The liner lock in the middle. So it won't close on you until you push the liner lock in the middle. Push it and it will fold. This knife is actually quite awesome. And I'm a knife collector. I've been collecting knives for 30 years. This is an amazing knife. And you can get it BarryKnife.com, Barry Cunningham. He can tell you how to get it. I want you to push it to his channel, fanfare.com. This knife is amazing. It's sharp. It's heavy duty. As a matter of fact, it's almost too heavy to carry in a pocket. You'd have to put it on your belt or whatever, but it's a heavy duty knife, and it's really nice. So Barry, to you, one of your family members, B. Michael Nace from Fanfare, amazing knife.
All right, so that was B. Michael Nace, one of the guys here in the Fanfare community who made that video, unsolicited, of course. And this here is the Trump red knife from Patriot Addict, one of the partners I have here on the channel. And I don't even know how that thing works that he does where he flips out the blade, so I'm not going to do that because the last thing you guys want is to see this thing stick me. So I'm going to do it, you know, the easy, lazy way and just pull the blade out, and hopefully I don't drop it. But here's the knife. It's good and heavy, and you can tell the size of the knife right there in terms of, like, you can see it on my hand. It's pretty weighty. It's got a glass breaker right there, and then inside it's got a slicer that you can cut off a seatbelt or something. Very, very, very sharp, so be very, very, very careful. And this knife's right here. Guess what? It's free. It's free. All you have to do is pay shipping. It's about 13 or 14 bucks, and the knife will be sent to you. Just go to the QR code right here, or go to BarryKnife.com. It's just Patriot Addict. That's just their way of saying thank you for supporting this channel and being a part of the Trump movement and history. Normally this knife retails for $70, but right now you can grab it just for the cost of shipping. Scan the QR code right over here, or visit BarryKnife.com to apply your 100% off coupon and claim your Trump knife today before they're all gone. Again, go to BarryKnife.com or check the QR code. So thank you guys very much. I've gone over many times about the upsells, so I'm not going to waste time doing that again. Somebody said he needs to close the bathroom door while he advertises for the knife. What? No, he wasn't advertising. That was just his video. It didn't sound like a bathroom. It sounded more like an aquarium he had in the background. But that was a completely unsolicited video, and I thank him for it because it's perfect. All right, so I'm going to read Super Chats, and then we're going to do the jump over. Okay, let me do this here and put things in place so I can read here. We're going to have some fun tonight. And let me just tell BLS Doom Crew right now, I couldn't play the the Zach Wilde song that you wanted to hear. I'm trying to find a different version. I found one version, but it had some really crazy imagery that I didn't want to offend people with. I know some people, I still have to be careful because some people get offended with the imagery. But I'm looking, BLS. I'm gonna find a G-rated version so I can begin showing people it. All right, so we got Big Cat. Keep rocking on Rumbleberry. I enjoy the late show. Thank you. Miko Rod, President Trump needs to do a surprise speech on local channels, primetime, to inform Americans what he has accomplished and what will the future will bring. Still too much blacklighting and hatred. Thank you for all you do. Thank you. Tilly, thank you. Good evening, Barry, Robin, Ashley, and Fanfare family and the mods. Thank you. Buddy Sanders, she actually hits an officer in his back at the gate. Cutting Edge. Bitcoin break for second all-time high of 109. I think it went over 110 already as well. How Granny sees it, but Alina Habba isn't white. How's that racist? Good point. Very good point. My rhinoceros. Everyone trashed 17 when it happened because we need to see the consequences of crime that ran rampant since the end of the Civil War. Trump putting out HRC hit list on T-Social is a major con. Remember that. A couple days ago, he put out the video about JFK and the body count. So something's going on. Jeff 26. Everyone wants to talk about Biden's cancer. Now, I don't wish cancer on anyone, no matter their age, but I do find concerning nobody wants to talk about the Biden's 2 brain surgeries back in '88. Good point. Monica, thank you. Rhinoceros again. Tapper sounds remorseful that he's been tapped on. No, did he back it up? Rhinestone Rocker, Jesse on Fire has a video about treason today. Have to look that up. Diamond G, Ben Stiller and Happy Gilmore was running to bed. Mr. Anderson, their plan was to install Kamala as president. That's devious. Born on the 4th, the media has been doing what's called deliberate distortion, lying deliberately, a no-no in the FCC guidelines. They need to be shut down. Penny McCorder, I will be upset in any way if these people all involved are charges with treason. They should be because it is. And BLS Doom Crew, yes, I did look up the song Lost Prayer by Zach, and I found one with a lot of questionable imagery, so I didn't want people to get pissed off. But I am going to play it. I just have to find a PG rated version so I can play you your song. Maybe I can find one tonight before we go off the air and see if I can't get you that song played. In any event, we are going to be jumping over right about now, so I'm going to play the break, and when the break is over, we're going to be on the other side.